Okay, guys, this is the top of Investigation 4. We're going to be talking today about multiplying radicals. And just to kind of give you guys some context of what's going on here, let's say we want to start to understand the idea of multiplying radicals. So if I look at the square root of 25, and I find what the square root of 25 is, I get that to be 5, as you guys can see on my screen on the right. Now, if I find out what the square root of 5 is, times 5, all underneath the same radical sign, I get that to be 5 as well. Okay? So both of these, the square root of 5, or square root of 25, is equivalent to the square root of 5 times 5. And the reason why that makes sense is because underneath the radical sign I have 2 5s, so that means I can take 1 5 out in front of the radical sign and I got nothing left over. Okay? So let's look at this case, the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. Let's see what happens when we do that. I'm going to do square root of 5, and then multiply that again by the square root of 5. And when I do that, I get exactly the same thing. So all 3 of these statements are equivalent to each other. They are all exactly the same. So because of that, we can state the following. The rule for multiplication. So what I can say is that if I'm taking the square root of a and multiplying it by the square root of b, that is the same thing as multiplying the square root of a times b, all underneath the same radical sign. Okay? So this is a and this is b. Multiplying those two together underneath the same radical sign gets me the same answer as if I were just to take the square root of everything multiplied together. Okay? All right. So let's look at an example. This is at the bottom of that first page of your notes. So based off the rule that we talked about, we got the square root of a times the square root of b equals the square root of a times b. What I can do is I can take the square root of 2 times 32, all underneath the same radical sign. Well, 2 times 32 is 64. And what is the square root of 64? 8. So if I just wanted to check it, because I don't trust myself sometimes, if I take the square root of 2 and multiply it by the square root of 32, I get 8. So that works out. So just looking at number 2, taking the square root of 27 times the square root of 3, I can put them all underneath the same radical sign. And I get that to be the square root of 81. And that just turns out to be 9. Okay? So for number 3, guys, I'm just doing the same thing. I could take 12 times 3, and that gets me the square root of 36. And that just turns out to be 6. So we're going to kind of build on this property here for the next few minutes, okay? So we're going to talk about those. All right, so let's look at values in which I have 4 square root of 5 times negative 6 square root of 8. So the rule works that if I have 2 numbers in front of the radical sign, which I got a 4 and I got a negative 6, I can multiply those 2 together. Similar to what we were working with properties of exponents, I can shift the coefficients and put them in front of each other. And then anything that's underneath the radical sign will stay underneath the radical sign. So I got 4 times negative 6, which is negative 24, and then 5 times 8 is 40. So now we're just taking everything that we've looked at so far with radicals, and now we can just look at square root of 40 and try to break it down. Well, I know 40 is 4 times 10, and then 4 breaks down to be 2 times 2, and then I got 2 times 5 for 10. Okay. So underneath my radical sign, I have 1, 2, 3 2s, and a 5. So just remember, for every pair of something, I can take one out. So I have a pair of 2s, so I circle it, list it in front of the radical sign. Okay? So I have 2, and then I got a square root of 2 times 5. All right. So I had a negative 24 in front of the radical sign times 2, and then I have square root of 10. All right. Negative 24 times 2 is negative 48. Square root of 10. Okay. And then we can just look at one more. So I have 2. There is a 1 in front of this radical sign. So I got 2 times 1, and then I got square root of 10 times 3. So I got 2, and then square root of 30. So 30 breaks down to be 3 times 10, and then 10 breaks down to be 2 times 5. No prime numbers, so 2 square root of 30 is my final answer. And then I can look at one more with you guys. I got 2 square root of 6 times negative 3 square root of 8. So I got 2 times negative 3. And then I got 6 times 8. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. I got square root of 48. 48 breaks down to be 6 times 8. And then 3, let's just look at 48. All right, so I got 6 times 8, 3 times 2 times 2 times 4. So that turns out to be 3 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay. All right. So I have a pair of 2s. I got 2 pairs of 2s. So in front of my radical sign, I can take 1 2, another 2, and I'm left with the 3 in front of the radical sign. But then I also have the negative 6 that's in front of the radical sign. So I got negative 24 square root of 3. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys to try 3 through 6 for me, and we'll talk about those on Monday. Thanks, guys.